everybody, so one of the things I think Hallie's going to point out is, so these three fringe trees, 1, 2, 3, that are planted around these flagpoles, you put those in November. They're nice sized specimens. Nothing's been pruned off of them, and Hallie's just going to point out what you should be looking for when you pick out a tree specimen.
These are the kind of trees that we honestly can do something good with. That one has gotten older, and we're doing reconstruction. But with a smaller tree, when you first buy, first thing you need to do is not buy one that looks crummy in the store. Get one that things you should be looking for. You need a central leader.
Can you repeat that, please? You were saying that in the store you
Don't buy a crummy one.
Don't buy a crummy. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Don't buy. I mean, you can honestly pull it out of the pot and see what the roots look like. If it's very root bound, going all around like this. I'm going to talk about this in the class, the woody ornamentals. I'm going to talk about selecting plants. But just a little bit about it here. We also, research has shown that if we leave all of the small growth along the trunk, thank you, Lord, along the trunk, then it makes it get a stronger, bigger thing. So you don't want, if all, when I went to the store was this, I don't want this tree, because this one's almost been pruned a little bit too much up this way, but I think it's going to be all right. But they have talked about, this is what you leave for the first 4 years even of the plant, is that. What's the main thing you're trying to do with a new tree that you've planted? What do you want?
Keep it
Roots.
alive.
Get the
Well,
roots.
that's true. Roots.
Encourage growth.
Good foundation.
If you come up to me and say, I planted this tree and it hasn't done anything. It did put out some leaves, but it's not growing. And don't worry about it. It's growing roots, and that's what you want to do. I know y'all all have heard creep, no, sleep, creep, and that's what they're talking about. It's sleeping in that first year. And some trees take more than 1 year to establish. So you don't worry about it if it hasn't done anything great and grand in that very first year. All right.
Hallie, we just mentioned tree flare, just so.
Root flare. Okay.
Or tree flare, yeah.
Volcano.
And what kind of fruit tree berry? What is
These
it?
are a fringe tree. They have, these are American fringe trees, not the Asian ones. And they won't get huge, maybe 10 feet tall, but when the spring comes, they'll be just, probably a couple of years, they'll be weeping with white flowers.
Okay, we'll talk about the root flare. Every tree should have a root flare. You should never cover a root flare with any kind of mulch. Those does need to be pulled back some on that. The volcanoes, everybody knows the volcano. All that is a breeding place for insects. Also, it gets damp, it stays damp, and the roots start growing out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you don't want that. You want a strong root flare at the bottom, and you want to keep this back from it.
So you're basically like doing a moat around it to keep everything away from it.
Well, when this was planted, the root flare was really pretty. These guys, actually the 3 people that planted these trees are all here.
You can see that it's planted.
It's right here at the surface level. You can see the tree flare happen, the root flare.
Never plant a tree or a woody ornamental, never plant it deeper than it is in the pot. Don't, err on the side of high instead of
Hallie, while you're just talking about that, I mean,
what do you mean by the
when it
flares
starts flaring out and getting wide,
like a skirt. Okay,
yeah.
look over here.
Yeah, you can really see it right now.
Beautiful example.
Hallie, we're just going to say one thing, because he mentioned this as well. When you talk about taking new plants out of the pots that you get in the nursery, after you get them out of the pot, one of the first things you're going to do is take all of that extra mulch off the top of the plant and find the actually top of the plant. Because what happens in nurseries, you know, they keep repotting them up and they keep putting mulch on top and top as they do the pots. So you may get, so if you want to actually find the top of your plant or the top of your tree, you got to remove all that crap. Mulch away and strip the thing down so you actually see the flare on the top of the roots on a shrub.
There are a lot that also recommend putting them in your wheelbarrow and washing alder off of them.
Yeah.
And planting them like a bare root, because that way you can spread out the roots, because that's what you want to do. All right, I can't.
So I have a quick question. Do you plant them in bags? There's some people that will leave them in the cloth bag and plant them.
In the ball and burlap.
Mm-hmm.
You can leave them in there, but you need to get it off of the thing. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
On the,
Take this off your hand. Can you
plant.
show them
No,
about
I'm
a little?
getting
Oh,
ready,
you're going to use
I'm
it.
getting
Okay.
ready to do something.
Yeah.
Up here.
So
All right.
she just got this from the store. She brought it home. It's planted. Now she's going to look at it and see,
Yeah.
is there anything that should come off?
Right. Well, if we can see this. We can see that didn't go anywhere. Whoever did that didn't go back
It's the
to
nursery.
Yes. So that's dead. So we will get that off at some point up there. This is the leader.
Yeah.
And these are trying their best to take over. So what we're going to have to do, and I'm not sure I would do it right this very minute. I might wait for the growing season to start on reduction cuts for this. But we've got to keep these from being taller than that. If that happens to be the leader that we want. Do you see why that happened? Why all these came out down here? See this right here?
Oh, we got cut.
They cut it there and then up again at the top.
Yes, and see at the top of there, if I cut this right here, I'd have all of this coming out here. So that's what's happened there. They did not leave the leader up there. Barry had a tree, a cherry tree, and he had one limb that went straight up to the sky, and it was, how tall was it, Barry?
Oh, 10 feet. It was just, I mean, you know, 8 feet or whatever. It was just awful.
What do I do?
What'd you do?
Well, you have to reduce the size of it, which is what they have done here. But after you've reduced, and I'm sure you've done this, Barry.
He might be looking for his other part.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it is.
Just him missing his back panel.
After you have reduced the size, which is what they probably did here. It was probably like this. After you reduce the size, then you've got to come back and take care of all of these that are coming out there. And there are options.
Yeah.
You
Can you
can
just do a demonstration? I mean, can you show them what you take out to reduce that?
Okay. The other thing that you don't want is 1,000 limbs all coming out at the same point. You had your botany lesson, you know that to get nutrient up the tree, it's got to go like this, right? It's got to go up here. Well, if there's 45 limbs, it's got to go around here. It's going to have a very difficult time getting all the way to the top. So you don't ever want a huge block of limbs. I would most likely take this one
Do it. Do it.
Peer pressure, peer pressure.
all the way off.
I know.
wants to wait till it grows.
You can't. I'm here. I'm telling her to cut it.
You're always here to give you second opinions. You always
I'm under pressure to hit the
Yeah.
corner.
Yay!
And
Okay.
you always double cut, even on a limb that's small.
Well, it's the easiest thing. It's the best thing to do. I mean, you don't have to, but
Where did you
all you have to do is cut one time that's too heavy and it splits all the way down to here, and you'll go back and do the second, make the second effort
Do you
on it.
ever do the undercut? Come out or do
I have done that. I have more success.
an undercut and then cut
on the
here,
top. Mhm.
so that way if the bark peels, it doesn't.
Right. To me, it's just as easy for me to go out there and cut the whole thing off as it is for me to do that. All right, let's get rid of this for sure. We know, right? Yeah. Thank you. No, see, that's terrible. Whoops, I'm sorry.
Me bad, sorry.
Now you need your ladder. I need my.
You got your loppers?
Uh,
Or I mean, your hand printers.
You're tall enough to get that for me.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And then Hallie, maybe you can mention the water spout.
Yes, there's a bunch over here on that one that I saw. Water spouts are they come up well they come up straight from the top of the limb.
Thank you.
You know what the worst trees for that are magnolias. Magnolias love to put up the worst, and you can't see them once the tree limbs out, gets leaves on it and all. You can hardly find them. They take away from the tree. Here comes the food and the water, and it hits that, and it goes up to that. Very few of them. This one looks like it might branch, but very few of them will branch. And all they're doing is taking away nutrients from it. So always take all of those out the minute you see them.
So is this one a water spout?
You also, that's one I would take. That's not.
Okay.
Because that's just, it was cut back to a top-facing bud, and that's a top-facing bud that has gone up. We'll do something about this sometime or other. Well, let's do something about it.
We can so just take a look at these other trees and just see if there's anything that's just really you just deal with now.
The other thing that you have suckers. I used to call the ones that came up like that suckers, but the correct out of the ground are the suckers. They come from a root, they come out here and they come up, and those should be removed also. I have a pair of old pruners and old saw that I pull it up as far as I can and cut them off, because they once again are taking up, and you're going to find a lot of your native plants, shrubs in particular, will sucker up. So
Do you want to take a look at the other ones just real quick and see if there's anything else here you
well,
might
I
want
can't
to... Okay, yes, go for it. You're here to show
I'm glad you have your glasses on.
Yes, and that's another thing you should do, especially this time of the year. If you're pruning shrubs and you're getting down and inside all the things, you should have glasses, safety glasses on.
Can I ask a question?
You may.
The growth of this one, is that something you deal with now or way now?
Yeah, you
'Cause
probably
it's making
should.
like that.
Well, the only reason if this had been in here for a year, I probably would do a lot more on this. The only reason I'm not doing as much on this now is because I wanted to think about its roots. I don't want it saying, a big limb hit me and I'm dying, I got to send out some more limbs. I wanted to send out its roots first.
So you might deal with that like after a year.
Right.
Yeah.
Spend your time too, as much time as you can on your mighty trees, your big trees, your oaks, your elms, while you can reach them, while you can do something
Ask
about.
her to fix that one.
If this tree gets damaged, it's not taken care of properly, if it falls over on me, it's probably not going to kill me, because it's not going to get the 12 feet tall. So we need to start thinking about our big maple we planted, the big oak we planted, and we need to get them started off on the right foot so that they will be healthy, because they're the ones that are going to wreck our house or kill us. So get started with that.
Holly, before you go, here's one right here. Take this, do it right there.
Damn it. You should have brought,
Yeah, see this right here? It looks like, this just looks like it got broken off at some point so I'd take the whole, I agree. I'd take it out. Thank you. That was well done.
The only reason I'm not going heavy on these is for that particular fact. Now that one over there, you can go to town with. You see all the limbs that are coming out and are not in a proper place. There's an example of one that really, see that one going straight to the top. That should come out. That should not be there. That's not a healthy. What's the best angle for a limb to grow on a tree?
45.
How do you remember that? Think about the Bradford pear.
And they split in half.
Lollipop tree.
So this is the strongest. This is the strong. So all of these are really strong branches that are coming out here. They're all at a 45-degree angle. So this one has a leader. You're probably going to have to.
Somebody cut the leader.
If you lose the top of your tree too, you can make a leader. I have lost them before. The wind, the whatever, knocked that out, and all I had left were these two. So you have to encourage one of them to. I put a bamboo stick in here and started pulling it to straighten up and to do, and it will make a leader. It will become a leader up there. So
These trees are not going to grow hugely tall, maybe 15 feet. So, you know, we're already 10 feet up. So
these are excellent. These. They're not as many together as there are over there. So this one, as far as structure goes, is probably in a good place. Now, Barry, because I said that we're not going to do a whole lot of pruning on this, it doesn't mean that some of you all can't come back and get the dead out.
yeah,
See, that's a dead.
Looked like it was, yeah, we cut it on one side or the other.
This is a dead. See the dead?
Yeah.
Hello, dead.
Cut to
I
something.
did. So I did. I hope. Tried to. Y'all gonna come back and
Remember
say.
that
And
forever.
y'all come back, don't you say? Oh, that's one Hallie cut.
Hallie has one right here.
Dead.
This end of it is dead. I don't. It might be a little light there,
But
but
we wouldn't mind having that.
yeah.
Having the branch.
And it is live back when you cut it.
Good. So that one looks in really good shape. The main thing you're gonna have to watch for, you can get up to that one that's dead. See at the top?
Yeah. Right
And
there.
then there's that one you're gonna have to decide. I would make probably the back one as your leader.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to do something with this. You're gonna have to do something with this one.
Would you not cut that off now?
It's trying to go up there.
Take it over.
I can.
Yeah, you could take it back to
The shortest stop.
to the I don't know. Do what you think. Tell us what you think you do.
Well,
with that.
see, this is not always red, white, and blue. I mean, this is not always tried and true, and what I say is correct. I would take this whole one off back to the back. You've got another one over there that can come out to support it. You've got another one that can come out over there. Both of those are heading in the right direction.
Where that one's going
Where
right.
this one is not going in the right direction. That's not a bad.
You gotta hold it
Gone
for
to the bud above it.
Thank you.
Let's just look at the other one.